When you first pick up a camera, one of the first things you'll hear about is the exposure triangle. This is the foundation of photography, and it's where every photographer's journey begins. The exposure triangle is made up of three key elements: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Each one plays a unique role in shaping your final image. Aperture controls how much light the lens lets in, affecting not just brightness, but also depth of field and the look of your background blur. Shutter speed determines how long the sensor is exposed to that light freezing action or creating motion blur depending on your settings. ISO, we're often told, controls the sensor's sensitivity to light. But that's actually a common misconception, especially with digital cameras. In reality, a digital camera's sensor has a fixed sensitivity. Changing the ISO doesn't make the sensor itself more sensitive. Instead, it amplifies the electrical signal that's generated after the light hits the sensor. Think of ISO like a volume knob on a stereo. Turning it up doesn't add more music. It just makes what's already there louder. In the same way, increasing ISO doesn't capture more light. It just boosts the signal you already have. When you raise the ISO, your image gets brighter because the signal is amplified. But there's a catch. This amplification also increases the noise, the random speckles and grain you see in your photos, especially in the shadows or darker areas. The real challenge isn't just the ISO number itself, but how much you're amplifying a weak signal. In low light, there's less information to work with, so boosting ISO can make noise more obvious. Understanding this concept frees you from the fear of using high ISO. What truly matters is how your specific camera handles this amplification process, and how you balance ISO with aperture and shutter speed. Not all cameras boost the signal in the same way. Some handle high ISO much better than others, producing cleaner images with less noise. Knowing your camera's strengths and limitations can dramatically improve your results. So it's not about avoiding high ISOs altogether, but about using them wisely. In challenging lighting, a higher ISO might be the only way to get the shot, and that's perfectly okay. Mastering this idea transforms ISO from a limitation into a powerful creative tool, letting you capture great images in any situation, day or night. Now that we know ISO is about amplification, let's dive deeper into what's actually happening inside your camera every time you change that setting. ISO isn't just a number. It's a key part of how your camera interprets and processes light, and understanding it can help you make smarter choices when shooting in different conditions. So, how do cameras actually amplify light? It all comes down to the technology inside. Cameras use a combination of hardware and software to boost the signal from the sensor, and the way they do this can have a big impact on your final image. Most digital cameras fall into three main families based on how they handle ISO: digital amplification, analog amplification, and dual native ISO. Each method has its own strengths and weaknesses, and knowing which one your camera uses can help you get the best results. Digital amplification means the camera brightens the image after it's captured, similar to boosting exposure in editing software. This is a quick and easy way to make photos brighter, but it can also make noise more noticeable, especially in low light. Analog amplification, on the other hand, boosts the signal before it's converted to digital. This results in a cleaner image with less visible noise because the signal is strengthened before any digital processing happens. Dual native ISO cameras are a bit more advanced. They have two separate circuits for low and high ISO, which means you get clean, detailed images whether you're shooting in bright sunlight or in dim, challenging conditions. The method your camera uses directly affects both the amount of noise in your photos and the dynamic range. The range of detail from shadows to highlights. This is why some cameras perform better in low light than others. Knowing which family your camera belongs to is like having a cheat sheet for better results. It helps you predict how your camera will behave in different lighting, and lets you make smarter decisions about ISO settings. Digital amplification is simple and convenient, but it can make noise more visible, especially at higher ISO values. This is something to keep in mind when shooting in low light. Analog amplification improves the signal-to-noise ratio before the image is saved, giving you cleaner, more professional-looking photos straight out of the camera. Dual native ISO gives you two sweet spots for clean images in any light, making it a favorite among videographers and photographers who need flexibility and top image quality no matter the situation. ISO invariant cameras have one true native ISO where they perform best. Changing the ISO setting doesn't affect how the sensor captures light. It just adds a tag to the file for digital brightening later. Whether you set ISO 400 or 3200, the raw data is the same. Only the preview changes. For raw shooters, the ISO dial is just a monitoring tool. The best practice: shoot at the native ISO, maximize light with aperture and shutter speed, and adjust exposure in post. This approach, called exposing to the right (ETTR), keeps your image as far from the noise floor as possible. Boosting exposure in editing produces the same noise as raising ISO in camera. The noise characteristics don't change with ISO because the capture is always the same. Focus on getting a healthy exposure at base ISO and handle brightness later. This simplifies your workflow and ensures the cleanest possible files. ISO variant cameras, like many DSLRs and mirrorless models, use a mix of digital and analog amplification. At base ISO, the signal is purest. As you increase ISO, the camera alternates between digital and analog boosts. Analog boosts at key ISO steps give cleaner results than digital pushes. That's why ISO 800 might look cleaner than ISO 640. The former uses analog gain, the latter digital. The noise performance varies depending on the ISO you choose. For these cameras, it's better to raise ISO in camera for proper exposure than to brighten a dark image in post. Learn your camera's sweet spot ISOs, where analog gain kicks in for the cleanest results. Use those ISOs when you need to push exposure in low light. Dual native ISO cameras, found in many cinema and high-end mirrorless models, have two separate native ISOs built into the sensor. This innovative technology is designed to maximize image quality in a wide range of lighting conditions, making it a favorite among filmmakers and photographers who demand versatility. One native ISO is optimized for shooting in bright light, ensuring crisp, detailed images with minimal noise. The other is tailored for low light, allowing you to capture clean, usable footage even when the scene is dimly lit or at night. When you cross a certain ISO threshold, the camera automatically switches to a high-sensitivity circuit. This means you don't have to worry about excessive grain or muddy shadows when shooting in challenging lighting. Your camera is working behind the scenes to deliver cleaner low-light images. This switch essentially resets the noise floor, giving you a massive improvement in shadow detail and dynamic range. You'll notice richer blacks, smoother gradients, and more information in the darkest parts of your image, which is crucial for post-production flexibility. Shooting at the high native ISO can actually look much cleaner than pushing the low native ISO in dark conditions. Instead of introducing noise by boosting exposure in post, you get a naturally clean image straight out of the camera. That's why it's important to know your camera's two native ISOs and use the one that matches your lighting. Check your camera's manual or menu to find these values, as they can vary between models. In low light, don't hesitate. Jump straight to the higher native ISO for the best results. This approach ensures you're using the sensor's full capability, capturing more detail and less noise. Don't underexpose at low ISO and try to fix it later. Use the right circuit for the job. Proper exposure at the correct native ISO saves you time in editing and preserves image quality. Dual native ISO gives you incredible flexibility and consistently clean images in any lighting scenario, from bright sunlight to the darkest interiors. Leverage this powerful feature to get the most out of your camera's sensor and elevate the quality of your photos and videos no matter where you shoot. Noise in digital photography is the random speckles or grain you see, especially in dark areas. It's caused by electronic interference, the noise floor, present in every sensor. In bright scenes, the light signal overpowers the noise, so you don't see it. In low light, the signal is weak and closer to the noise floor. Raising ISO amplifies both the signal and the noise, making the noise more visible. High ISO doesn't create noise, it reveals what's already there. ISO invariant cameras have a constant noise floor. Boosting in post or in camera gives the same result. ISO variant cameras use analog boosts to push the signal above the noise before saving the image. Dual native ISO cameras switch to a cleaner circuit for low light, lowering the noise floor. In every case, the goal is to make the light signal as strong as possible compared to the noise. That's the secret to clean images. Clean images start with one rule: prioritize light. Use a wider aperture or slower shutter speed before raising ISO. More light means a stronger signal and less visible noise. Expose to the right. Make your image as bright as possible without clipping highlights. A bright image darkened in post will always look cleaner than a dark image brightened later. Learn your camera's ISO behavior and find its cleanest ISO steps. For dual native ISO cameras, memorize your 2 native ISOs and use them strategically. Don't fear high ISO, use it when you need to capture the moment. A sharp, noisy photo is better than a clean, blurry one. Combine good lighting, smart ISO choices, and proper exposure for stunning results. With these principles, you'll get clean, beautiful images in any situation.